Hi, welcome to the Hyperfixated Fan. I'm Hunter,
I'm Rachel.
and today we are going to talk about one of my absolute favorites, Hadestown.
Yeah. So we're doing something a bit different this week. This week it's like, instead of us talking about something we've both seen, Hunter's gonna talk about like something that I apologize for my cat noise. But Hunter's
He's
gonna
hungry.
talk about something that she's only seen. Like, I've never seen Hadestown, so
And I may have seen it 4 times.
yeah.
So for those of you who are not familiar, Hadestown is a Broadway musical. It opened on Broadway April 17th of 2019. Before that, it had an off-Broadway stint. There was a concept album. You can actually listen to both the off-Broadway version and I think the concept album on Spotify, as well as the full like Broadway original cast soundtrack on Spotify, and probably other places. That's just where I listen.
That's cool.
One very cool thing about it is that if you listen to it, is operatic, not as in it sounds like an opera, but as in practically the whole show is done through song. So you can listen to the entire show and know everything that happens in the show just by listening through the soundtrack. But the concept of Hadestown is, in essence, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice.
I knew that.
And the story of Hades and Persephone.
Okay, I did not know that was part of it.
It is a major part. Those are the core 4 of the story.
Okay.
So the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, if anyone doesn't know, Orpheus is the son of a muse who plays and sings such beautiful music that the rocks and earth themselves fall in love with him and sing along. Eurydice is a nymph, and she falls in love with Orpheus, and in the original story back in Greek myth, died on the day of their wedding, and he went down to Hades to try to bring her back with him by singing a song to Hades, and she was supposed to follow him out of Hades. He could not turn to look back at her. If he did,
she'd be stuck.
She would be stuck in Hades, and he in any version of the story you find, he never makes it all the way out without coming back.
He always turns back,
reason. It is never a happy ending.
No.
In the story of Hades and Persephone, there's a lot of variations and a lot of
variations.
And a lot of modernizations to make it a little more palatable.
Good.
But they in this version,
okay,
we are past their love story.
Okay, we're on their divorce arc.
Pretty much.
That's fun.
Because this story, there's no set place or time.
Okay.
You are on the road to hell, and it is hard times. That is the only setting you were given. It gives vibes of like a New Orleans during the Great Depression, but they say, don't ask where, brother, don't ask why. It was the road to hell. It was hard times.
Mm-hmm.
So... but we know that the times are hard, the wind is strong, the storms are coming, the heat, during the summer, it's too hot. During the winters, it's too cold. There is no spring and fall.
LOL.
Because, it's just been too long. Hades and Persephone once loved each other. There was a song of their love.
Mm-hmm.
They have forgotten the song of their love because every time Hades sent Persephone away for her time in the sun and on the earth, and to share her time and her love with the people on the ground and, up in the sun, he grew afraid that she wouldn't come back, essentially. And that jealousy and that fear grew in him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would take her back too soon and let her go too late.
Gotcha.
And it has been this way for far too long. So he's very jealous, she's very bitter, and times are hard, is in essence what the play is happening. But that's just kind of what is happening in the background.
Okay.
That's the setting.
Okay.
And the show opens with this the music style is very like jazzy, bluesy. It's so much fun. And
this kind of reminds me of, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou vibes.
Yeah, it's that taking of a Greek myth, and giving it a fun, like
Southern
home-style music.
Yeah.
And, it's great, very tongue-in-cheek. And it gives, it has so much fun with audience interaction, too. The curtain is open. The curtain never closes.
Okay.
Not once. So when you walk into the theater, the stage is there. There's risers on the side. That's where the band is going to sit. There's no orchestra pit. They are just on stage for you to see and to interact with. What they occasionally come out like the brass instrument with the
trombone.
Thank you, trombone. If you guys could see me, I was doing the
hand movements.
The trombone motion where you're doing the he comes out and does a solo at some point. Just comes out into the middle of the stage with the dancers.
That's cool.
And everyone cheers and whistles for him as he goes. When the dancers do something really impressive, we all cheer for them.
Good.
There's and it's a cafe, essentially. There's tables and chairs. There's a chalkboard on the wall with what's on tap at the time.
Okay.
There's a balcony at the top, and Hades and Persephone hang out up there for a good chunk of the first act.
Okay.
Because they're not involved in the first little bit, because they're down in Hadestown, so they're not here, but we still get to see them engaging with each other.
Uh-huh.
And so, before the show starts, we're all, getting drinks at the bar, buying merch, finding our seats. The stage is just open.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time, the musicians, the cast, who are the Greek chorus, they're, it's the ensemble, but they are the chorus, the Greek chorus, the ones telling the story with them.
Mm-hmm.
They all come out and they just wave at us, and they cheer, and they yeah, hi guys, we're all here. They engage with us immediately and find their spots, and then the Fates walk out, and I have so much to say on the Fates in a minute, because I love these women. First of all, well, I'll get to them in a minute. The Fates walk out, and they do a dramatic fan flap to just kind of engage, be yes, we are here now, and then they go find their spots. Orpheus or Eurydice comes out, doesn't really do anything, she just kind of sits in her spot.
Okay.
Orpheus goes to start cleaning off the bar table, because he's got his little apron on. He works at this cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hermes comes out. Hermes, my dear, depending on which, when you're seeing it, or, which version you're seeing, tour or at Broadway, it's going to be, different. One thing I love about this show, there's no set specific way to play a role.
Mm-hmm.
I have been lucky enough to see, I couldn't find my playbill to remember who I saw on tour, but the times I saw it on Broadway, I did get to see the original Andre de Shields, whom was fantastic. He's so much energy for this just old man. I love him. And then the other two times I saw it was with Lilias White, and she is amazing. She was actually one of the muses in the Hercules movie. Disney's
cool.
Hercules.
Yeah.
She's amazing. They both kind of come out, and they're all dressed head to toe in silver and shiny and sparkly. They come out and they do with their own kind of flair, how they greet everyone on the stage. They know everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come out and they flash out their jacket, and then they're hello, applaud for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. The audience does. We all cheer.
Mm-hmm.
For Andre de Shields, it was you're an incredible old man. Congratulations, you're still on stage. We love you. It's so exciting to have you here. For Lilias White, it's oh my god, your costume looks so good. You're amazing. I'm so excited to have you here and present the show for me. And then they start the show. Hermes is our narrator, the one who tells us the story. Mr. Hermes, or in Lilias Shields' case, or Lilias White's case, it's Mrs. Hermes, which honestly implies some things. I'm who are you married to, Mrs. Hermes? Who I think it should have been a Lady Hermes, but that's not.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fair.
sure she made that choice. But they start the show with audience interaction, where Hermes turns to the cast and goes, "I," or "all right." And they respond in the same. And then Hermes turns to the audience, "All right." Mm-hmm. And then the audience, "All right."
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't get enough energy with it, they will do it again. Mm-hmm. To ensure you have to engage with this show. Your energy contributes to the energy of the show, which is so much fun. And then the show starts with the first number, which is truly just, it starts off with that trombone. with some jazz music where it's called Road to Hell. And the thing that I love about it is they tell you from the very beginning, this is a tragedy.
Yeah.
What you are seeing is a tragedy. But you don't hear it because you're having such a fun time.
It's a different tone.
Yeah. We're on the road to hell. It's hard times. It's a sad song. It's a tragedy. But we're going to sing it again. Yeah, let's go. Let's have a great time. And it just breezes on by. But they tell you right from the get-go, it's a tragedy. And you're like, sure it is, Hermes, but that's okay.
The contradiction's always good.
It's so good. And they say, maybe it'll work out this time. And maybe it will. The past couple of times I've seen it, I saw it with my roommate twice. And so when we went to see it, actually just last week, we went on a trip to New York this weekend. So we were going into the theater and she looks at me and she just goes, hey, maybe it'll work out this time. And I was like, maybe, dude. That's why we sing it again. Which is kind of one of the major themes of the show.
I do like that theme of you keep trying.
We're going to sing it again to know how it ends and still begin to sing it again.
Yes, you keep going.
As if it might turn out this time. I learned that from a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I love it. Sure, it's hard and it hurts. But you keep going. You keep hoping and you keep trying.
That's what's so important.
Oh, I adore it so much. So that's the tone you hit at the beginning of the show.
Gotcha.
You get an introduction of each character, all the major characters. There's poor boy. Orpheus was a poor boy, but he had a gift to give. He's trying to write a song that will bring the world back into tune. Mm-hmm. He wants to bring spring back and fall back and calm the winds. He wants to fix what is wrong with the world. And his gift is that he can make you see what the world could be in spite of the way that it is. Which that is another thing that I think we can desperately hold on to these days.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's that's his true gift.
Yeah.
That is the thing. Yes,
being able to see.
Yeah, and it's and he has this beautiful song, and that serves him well on his journey. But it's that ability to see and to hope.
Yeah.
And to acknowledge, even in this cruel world that he lives, that is truly what makes him who he is.
Yeah.
And then there's Eurydice was a young girl, a runaway from everywhere she'd ever been. She sees how the world is.
Yeah.
And so when we first meet her, and I saw, I've got my little cast list here. For Orpheus, the first time I saw it was with Reeve Carney, who is the original. Phenomenal. He's very sweet. His falsetto, phenomenal. He's who you will hear on, I believe, both the off-Broadway and Broadway version. And then just this last time, we saw Jordan Fisher, who is so fun. Mm-hmm. Where Reeve Carney plays him as a autistic king, honestly.
Yeah.
Just there's a line in it that says, you might say the boy was touched because he was touched by the gods themselves. Mm-hmm. And he plays that to a T. Mm-hmm. Jordan Fisher plays more golden retriever boyfriend.
Okay.
And it's just very fun spotting the differences.
Yeah.
And then as Eurydice, we saw, first time was Eva Noblezada, who is the original. And this time we saw Maya Rafiko, who was truly great. Eva she's this, world-weary character. Eva played her as someone who has sharp edges because she's so fragile.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then Maya Rafiko played her as someone who is truly rough and ragged and sharp so that no one can hit her first.
Yeah.
And she was incredibly fun with Jordan. The two of them played very well off each other. And they were honestly phenomenal. But you see them both in this cafe, and you see, as they're introduced, Orpheus is off in the corner. He's trying to clean up the cafe. He's got his little rag and a piece of paper that's a little news bulletin or something that he starts tearing a little bit as he turns it into a flower, because he saw this beauty in just this piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
Well, meanwhile, Eurydice is over here holding her like collar up against herself as the fates come in the form of the wind and that blow out her candle and are trying to like scare her off again and again and again. Which kind of brings me to the point of the fates. The fates are the most fascinating characters in the show, considering they're not the main characters. However, they are the plot itself.
Okay.
Because the fates in the Greek
mythology,
they know and define your life. Okay, just walk.
My cat's everywhere.
That's fine. Oh, you muted me. Thank you. One of them pulls the thread of your life. One measures. One cuts.
Yep.
And they just know in advance. Like what's going to happen, but they also know like kind of the events that will happen just in general in the world. Yeah. I've also been playing a lot of Hades 2, which is very much revolves around the fates. So I've been like fates oriented for a hot minute here.
Okay.
In the show, there are these 3 women who look, dress, act kind of the same. They're always in concert with each other, always around each other. And for a good chunk of the show, they just circle Eurydice constantly.
Oh my god.
And they have been following her for a very long time, whispering to her, causing her trouble. They are the cold wind that is always at her back.
Oof.
And they continue to do this through like almost through the entire first act. They are constantly causing trouble. They're like needling at her to always want a comfortable bed, always need more food. As soon as she does gather enough food for her and Orpheus, they steal it from her. They steal her fire. They steal everything she might need so that she always needs to find more things to survive. So that when Hades comes along and offers her a way to Hadestown, she needs it. And when she has her first encounter with Hades, they sing a little line about he has power, he has might, and she goes, wow, kind of makes you wonder how it feels, which they've coaxed her right into that like root of wondering that, which also leads to this great moment. If she sings that line, Hades kind of looks right at her, and then Orpheus, like, there's a pause in the music, and Orpheus is like noticing this notice, and he just like, Jordan Fisher, at least, I don't remember how Reeve did it, but where Jordan Fisher just like sees this happening and then just does this huge vertical jump and then like lands between them to like physically block them seeing each other. It was so cute. But they do everything they can to set her up so that she still has to make the choice herself, but sets her up so that when the choice is given to her, she will choose to go to Hadestown and end up on Hades' work line, which she does. And as soon as she makes that choice and says goodbye to an Orpheus who is not paying attention to her, which I'll get to that in a second, she makes that choice, they leave her. And instead they turn directly to the audience. Again, that whole audience is a participant. And they sing a whole song about, do not judge her for making this choice.
Because she learned to make that choice.
Yeah.
To survive.
It's called When the Chips Are Down Reprise. And it's, you can judge her for this, but wouldn't you make the same choice if you were that hungry?
Yeah.
If you were in her place and starving and tired, would you not do the same?
Yeah. That's good about, like, non-judgment.
Yeah. It's, you can have your principles when you have a belly full.
Exactly.
But hunger has a way for you.
Yeah. You don't know what you're going to do unless you're in that situation.
Exactly. And it's just like, up until this point, they have been nothing but antagonists. And even after this, they continue to antagonize. But that's just what they are.
Yeah.
That's who and what they are as people and as the fates. So it's nothing personal for them to do. And they do take pleasure in it. You can see them having fun, but it's nothing personal against Eurydice. It's just what they do. And they don't, they're like, no, this is what we do. Don't you do it too. And have always loved that number because it's so fascinating to me. But as soon as they leave Eurydice, and Orpheus realizes that Eurydice has left to go to Hadestown because he was so focused on working on his song. He got lost in it, which is fascinating because in this moment, and I'll kind of, there's a chunk I'm skipping over, but that's okay. I'll probably circle back to it. But he's so focused on finding out, like he's writing this song to make the change, but he realizes that he doesn't actually need to necessarily write a whole new song. There was a song. The song I have been writing has existed. It's the song that Hades and Persephone used to sing. They have forgotten the song of their love. Persephone, or Hades, is deafened by a river of stone because he has literally physically built a wall around Hadestown.
To keep her in.
Yeah, it's a cage for her, and it also is something just to physically keep himself safer, and like it keeps
That's
himself
fair.
busy and to keep himself like focused, but it is also like I can contain her here and protect her, ?
Yeah.
But the river Styx is a river of stone. It's literally a wall that he has built here.
Oh, that's interesting.
At the same time, Persephone is blinded by a river of wine. Every time she goes up, when she is having her summer, would you quit? I'm trying to take photos on my computer. I'm impressed a little bit. She drinks wine.
Excuse me.
She has wine nonstop. She's a song that when she visits, it's called Living It Up on Top. And there's a lot of good that happens in that song. But it's also her passing the wine around and drinking it. And one thing that's a gag that's during that song is while they're pouring it out for everyone to drink, Orpheus does a toast, which I love that toast, and I will be discussing it.
Okay.
They all take their big drink, and you can see them all sputter and hack because of how strong this wine is that she brought. And she is, and like at one point she says something later when they're actually down in Hadestown that Hades doesn't like, so he says, just have another drink. And it's just, she has just been dealing with this marriage with drink and with morphine and with substance abuse. And it's just, so Hades is deafened by a river of stone. Persephone's blinded by a river of wine. And as he's talking about how they have blinded themselves to their surroundings and what used to be their love, he has cut himself off in writing this song, and Mrs. Eurydice call out for him while she's trying to gather food and firewood for them both. And so she is starving and leaves just so she can survive.
It's the like being focused on other people instead of focused on yourself.
Exactly.
Like, don't tell other people what to do when you're not doing it yourself.
So, and like, it's interesting because that's actually during one of my like truly favorite songs. It's called Chant. And it's my favorite because everyone is singing. You have Orpheus working on the song, and he sings about the love story, like what happened to Hades to make him deteriorate. He's talking about Persephone a little bit. He's talking about like, he's singing the like, the tune that is the love song, which is truly just a bunch of like la la la's put together, but it's like lovely.
Yeah.
You've got Hades and Persephone down in Hadestown discussing what Hades has built down there and how much it has kind of just become a prison of industrialism. And so she's complaining. She's like, one of the lines is, in the coldest time of year, why is it so hot down here? Hotter than a crucible. It ain't right and it ain't natural. So, like, she is a woman of nature. She's a goddess of nature. And he is just making it more and more industrial every time she's gone. It's too bright. It's too hot. And so there's that discussion between the two of them happening. There's Eurydice trying to find food and firewood as she fights the Fates who are attacking her. And she's trying to reach out to Orpheus. You have Hermes trying to, like, calm Eurydice down when he can, and like trying to like reach out to Orpheus as well and be like, look at the sky, look for Eurydice, please do anything.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the people of the ensemble, the Greek chorus, are no longer just patrons of the cafe. They have changed. They are now the workers of Hadestown.
Oof.
And so they're making kind of mechanical motions in a circle this whole time. They are singing the workers' song, essentially, which is keep your head low. They cannot look up. They cannot interact with each other. They are working. Keep your head low. And so that's where it's all finally coming, like, crashing together. Everyone is singing together.
Gotcha.
And it is at that point where the love of Orpheus and Eurydice, where, like, finally starts, like, they have come together. They have fallen in love. And this is where it splinters. Simply because Orpheus is too lost in his mission.
Yeah.
To remember that you do still have to focus on the world you're in.
Yes.
Which is kind of where the beauty of the two of them comes from.
Yeah.
He sees what could be, but she sees what's happening now.
Yeah, you have to have a balance.
You have to marry those two together, and if you don't, you have problems.
Yeah, exactly.
So the... God, I've jumped all over my notes. So the song Living It Up on Top, which I talked about, Persephone's song. She has... 2 songs that she sings that are like Persephone focused songs. The first one is Living It Up on Top. She arrives at the surface, or rather she gets off the train. And she shows up, she brings wine for all. She's so excited. Hermes makes a comment about how she's never early, she's always late, and she's just like, anyway, let's have a party instead. And she says, don't talk about hard times, pour the wine, it's summertime. Sort of a matter of just like, we just don't have to talk about it. Like, don't even worry about it.
It's good now, so we can ignore all that bad.
Exactly. She's like, if you're not 6 feet under, girl, you're living it up on top. The song is about kind of living in denial.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is the best time of year for these people.
Yeah.
It's a time when
trying to enjoy it.
Yeah, the fruit grows. It's when they have any sun at all. It's not freezing cold. They can celebrate. They can have a good time. So they do take advantage of it. But they're also like, they can't talk to her about what's wrong and they can't ask any questions. It's just party time with her. At the same time, where's my notes about the other song? Her other song takes place after Hades comes to take her back to Hadestown, which she's only up there for like 2 songs, honestly. 2 or 3, and then one of them she's just not singing because it's when Orpheus and Eurydice like fall in love and agree to be together. It's cute. This one is called Our Lady of the Underground. And it's funny because I truly had no idea when I was just listening to the soundtrack this is where the, like, intermission is.
Okay.
I thought it happened, like, right after Chant or right after Wait For Me because of those. Both of those are, like, very emotionally relevant. But it's actually, like, right after Why We Build the Wall. And then Hades is like, okay, Eurydice, come up to my office. We have to sign some paperwork. And Hermes is all like, a lot can happen behind closed doors. But a lot can happen on the factory floor when the foreman turns his back and then, like, the door's shut. And Persephone, like, turns to the audience and it's just like, anybody want a drink? Pulls out her flask. And then that's the end of Act 1. Which is, like, compared to the highly emotional songs that came before it, such a funny place to break it for me. Which, like, doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you haven't, like, heard them all in a row. But it's just like, this song could be a great ending. This song could be a great ending. This song could be a great ending. And then it's just, like, Persephone making a goof about, like, drinking more. It's so funny. It works, though, because then you come back in. It's, like, break time, I guess, in Hadestown. And it's Our Lady of the Underground. So we've had Living It Up on Top, which is her with all the people. Like, every character except Hades is on stage. Because Hades is down in Hadestown.
Right.
The ensemble members are all dancing. Orpheus and Eurydice are like, Eurydice is like learning to like relax a little. She like gets coaxed into the dance and learns to like dance and enjoy herself. Hermes is having a good time, just being like, maybe I'll drink some. This is terrible to drink, actually. This is gross, but I'll have a good time anyway. They're all just having a great time. Everyone is like enjoying each other's company. When Persephone is like doing kind of a call and response, they call her by her name. They call her Persephone.
Yeah.
There is like obviously that sort of denial tension, but there is also like everyone having a good mood, and they're kind of like helping each other. Everyone's passing cups around and pouring drinks for each other. They're engaging. In Our Lady of the Underground, Persephone is now out in like, instead of her fun green dress and her big dramatic hair, she's now got her hair all like tied up in a bundle. She's wearing all black. She doesn't have her fun bag or her furry coat. She is all alone. It's break time in Hadestown, so none of the workers are there. It's just her and Hermes. And she goes to do her song. She's clearly drunk. And she is basically alone on the stage as she sings this song. When she tries to do a call and response, Hermes is the only one who can do the response. Initially, if you listen to the soundtrack, it was clear she was supposed to be engaging with workers, but they changed it so it's just her, which is like so sad.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since she's so drunk, and it just feels like heartbreaking. And then she like tries to do the call and response, and instead of getting her name back, she gets titles. So it's Our Lady of the Underground, Our Lady of the Upside Down. And the only time her name is spoken, it's by herself. And instead of the like very fun mood of living it up on top, she's very much forcing it. Yeah. She's like, it's like when it's the end of the party and you're still trying to keep it going. Yeah, and you can tell. And then there's like, she's trying to like talk to the workers or whatever about like, I could, like, you miss autumn leaves, you miss spring flowers, you miss rain, you miss looking at the sky. I could get you those. Just like, you know, give me a quarter, give me this. Like, she's still like, I could give you those things, but we're in the cafe or up above, she like passed out the wine freely. Here she's like, you have to give me something for it. And it's like, maybe these aren't even deals. Maybe it's just, she's just trying to talk to someone, but it still feels like taking advantage of the workers here. And it just is so sad. Yeah. So it just, the two songs for her are totally painful. It just when compared to each other. Yeah. Let me see.
It's a good contrast, though.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so interesting to her, especially when, like, the workers come in and then when Orpheus shows up. So for Orpheus, he, as soon as he realizes that... Actually, before I jump into Orpheus getting to Hadestown, because that's so interesting, I do want to talk about Hades, because I haven't talked about him at all. Okay. So... first of all, Persephone, I have actually seen 3 different Persephones besides the tour cast, because I fully forgot to grab my names. I could not find my playbill for that. But I saw Amber Gray, who is the original Persephone. I actually saw her the night before her final night. Oh, cool. Which was like really cool. She was amazing. And then I saw Jewel Blackman, who was incredible. She actually had like a much deeper voice, which played off really interesting because, like, her voice was closer in tone to Hades. So it just made for, like, where everyone else does, like, really lovely, like, kind of contrast and, like, harmonies with him. She met him on, like, his turf, voice-wise, which was, like, really fun dynamics. And then this past week, I saw Alison Russell as Persephone, and she was amazing. Alison Russell... I mostly got to know her recently as she did Wildflower and Barley with Hozier. Okay. And then opened for him at his concerts on his Unreal on Earth tour a bunch of places.
That's cool.
She's so good. I also love her, like, because of that I went and checked her out, and I liked her own albums. They're really good. Yeah. She's great. So when I heard she was being Persephone, I was like, oh no, I'm in danger. I guess I have to go to New York now. She was amazing. But Hades, Patrick Page was the original. And I got to see him twice, and he is so good. His voice is so deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't notice until he hits, like, those songs. I once texted my friend Maggie, because I was telling her about the show, and I was like, I love him so much because he has this incredible bass voice. It's so amazing. And she's like, yeah, I don't think I'd even notice the difference. I was like, no. I was like, Maggie, you would notice the difference on this one. She's like, no, I really don't know, like, what, like, I'm not good at that. I was like, Maggie, go put on the song Hey Little Songbird from Hadestown.
Yeah.
You will know immediately. And she puts it on, and like 20 seconds later, she just texted me back, oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know!
Yeah. I can imagine that.
He's so incredible. He was, his dynamic for Hades was very, like, stiff, very cold, very, like externally blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see a hint of the, like, there was something warm in there, and he's cut that off.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he, like, interacted with his Persephones. Like, you would start to see that little bit of the, like, squishiness come out, but very much hidden by that cold external wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one we saw this past weekend was Philip Boykin, who was a very different dynamic. He was funny. I didn't know Hades could be funny. He was great. He also did that bass voice very well. It was really funny because when you watched him do it, when he hit those, like, really low points, he would sing it out of the side of his mouth. Like, his lips would twist over to the side.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen someone do that. But he would also just, like, I don't know, say things kind of like, I don't know, he would just do things that were just a little silly. Just a little silly. And I was like, see, I can see why Persephone fell for you. Because you're just a silly little guy underneath it all. And so that was super, super fun. Like, one of the things about Hades, when they introduce him in the very first song, he doesn't do anything except, like, stand up. So you don't hear his voice until, like, way late in the show. But they're introducing everyone. They're like, 3 old women all dressed the same. A woman stepping off a train with a suitcase full of summertime. Like, just little brief intros. For him, they were talking about a train all the way down at the end of the line, where the sun don't shine and it's always shady. Because, well, yes, it's dark in Hadestown, but also in Greek myths, in Hades, the spirits of the dead there are called shades.
Yes.
So, you know, it's not just that, but they also run a lot with that. They call him King of Shadows, King of Shades in one of Orpheus' songs. But also, he just wears sunglasses all the time. He's wearing his shades.
That's funny.
It's just like a silly little... And then he wears, like, a black leather, like, duster. And he's walking around with these stupid sunglasses. And he looks like he would fit in, like, the Matrix sometimes. He's just...
That's cool.
It's so stupid, and I love it. Like, one time when he's coming to talk to Eurydice, it's after a fight with Persephone. Like, when Persephone was all like, what did you do to Hadestown? It's too hot. It's too bright. And he's like, well, if you don't like it here, I'll find someone who does want to live in a golden cage, blah, blah, blah. He goes to find Eurydice. This wasn't where I was going with the conversation, but that's where we've led.
Okay.
And he leaves Hadestown to go find her, and it's too bright because they've left Hadestown. So he, like, comes up, he's like, oh, it's too, hand over the eyes. And he pulls out his sunglasses, and he's like, sees her, and he's like, oh no, too bright. Takes his time stupidly putting on his glasses, and then he's like, now I can talk to her. And she's just like, what are you doing? And it's just such a silly little exchange, especially since during the song he takes them off again. And you're like, what was what was that?
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's good. I was gonna talk about something. I brought up Hades for a reason to talk about. Maybe I was going to talk about the wall. I can talk about the wall. I don't think that's what the goal was, but I can talk about that now. So there's a song. It's the song we're on. It's like right before intermission, and it's when Eurydice gets to Hadestown. So he, after his fight with, are you trying to get through, bud? Right after he fights with Persephone, he goes to Eurydice. He's like, here's the deal. I can offer you 2 tickets to Hades, or I can offer you a ticket to Hadestown. And she's like, that seems weird. Why would I do that? He's like, because you will be fed, taken care of. You could just go down there. And she's like, I like being with Orpheus. He's like, aha, a penniless poet. I'm sure he can take great care of you. And she's like, hate that. Hate that you've said those things to me, because those are the things I think about.
Right.
Hate that a lot. And he's like, great, great, great. Cool, think about it. Here's the ticket. Which is 2 obols, 2 like silver pieces, which of course she does this wonderful thing as she's considering her options. She holds them, she faces the audience.
Oh no.
And she holds the 2 obols up directly over her
Oh
eyes.
no.
Which is, how you would like, what you would do with the dead, so they
pay
could
the ferryman.
Charon, to take you to Hades.
Yep.
So she holds them directly up over her eyes.
I feel like everyone knows that. So it's very like, oh.
I mean, it's familiar enough that people
will recognize it.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that tradition of the coins where the eyes goes as far back as to the Greeks.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's there to pay your way to Hadestown.
Yeah.
That's when she has her little spat with the Fates, which that's a fun little number, because the Fates are like, oh, you might as well screw Orpheus over, because if not, he's going to screw you over. That's just how the world works. And then to go to Hadestown, she she uses her ticket, which is dropping the coins into a bag held by Hermes. Because Hermes is
the god of travelers.
He's god of travelers, and he's one of the what's the word I'm looking for? He is like Thanatos, who is the god of death itself. But the 2 of them would often take the dead to Charon to then make it to Hades. So essentially, but in the show, Hermes talks about how he runs the railroad station. So essentially, he takes the ticket to send her down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I will remember that word later. There's a word for that.
I don't know.
And I'm blanking on it, so it doesn't super matter. But, I was going to talk about Orpheus, but that can come after We Build the Wall, because that song happens after We Build the Wall. No, it happens before. Doesn't matter. God, I have so many things to talk about with the show.
Okay.
Okay, so why We Build the Wall. This is very funny to me, because it's the first song that the first scene that Eurydice sees when she comes to Hadestown. This is the first thing she encounters, and it's all the workers are like lined up next to the band. Everyone is like standing very rigid. They're all like chanting together about why we build the wall. We build the wall to keep us free. The wall keeps out the enemy. The enemy is poverty. What do we have that they should want? We have a wall to work upon. That's why we build the wall. It's a whole like cycle of that people want in here so they can be free to build the wall to keep out poverty. It's very much like if you put literally any thought into this, it's like, so we're just working to work, is what it is.
Which is capitalism.
And to be fair, the critique is more on industrialism and isolationism than it is on like straight capitalism.
Okay. Like exploitation.
Yeah, exactly. And when this was first coming out and like first going up on Broadway, this and like, off Broadway and whatever, there was so much every time I like talked about this, and when I was like, this song is like really cool, you get to hear like Hades, because he's just saying, like, why does the wall keep us free? My children, my children. How does the wall keep us free? And then they would respond and do their little like chant bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a real good at that like gravelly deep voice. And I was like, oh my God, like y'all have to hear this song. It's really cool. And I played it and my dad was like, is this show just like a critique on like Trump? I was like, no, this wall has nothing to do with his wall. It is completely ironically just here separately from him.
But of course we make that connection.
Yeah, and it's like, no, this wall is a critique on isolationism and industrialism.
Yeah.
But what does that tell you about that man?
Exactly.
separate things, but at the same time.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really hilarious that they happened at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is like, Eurydice sees this and does immediately jump into the chant with everyone else because she's like, I am here. I was allowed to be here, and this will give me a way to comfortably eat and have a bed to sleep in every day. And all I have to do is just be a part of this.
Yeah.
Which is like what everyone here was promised.
It's like, it just reminds me of, like, if people have predictability, like, they will trade a lot of stuff for predictability.
Predictability and
because
safety.
Exactly. If it's predictable, it's safe, because I know what to do about it.
So she jumps in immediately, and that's when Hades leads her up to the office. They sign paperwork. She comes down. She's now, like, dressed in the worker's uniform, and jumps in immediately. And then it is at that point that the fates point out to her that a lot can happen behind closed doors does not necessarily mean what we would infer it to mean. What it means is that she signed her life away and her personhood, and that like she is already forgetting her name, where she came from. She is now just a body and a work line.
That's not good.
Depersonalization. Exactly. In like the most literal
the most literal
she's told that like no one has a name down here. They can look but they don't see. Your eyes will look like that someday. And she's like, I don't want eyes that look like that, and that's what it looks like to forget. So all these people, no one looks up. They keep their head low. They can't, or they can look at each other, but what would be the point? You just keep your head low, you can do your work, and then you can sleep, and that's all there is. Yeah. And then the whistle blows, and you jump back on the line. And it's then that she realizes kind of what exactly she jumped right into. Right. And she has this great song called Flowers. And it's truly, like, devastating. You listen to it on the soundtrack and it's already sad. It's already very heartbreaking. But if you ever find, there's like a video of Eva Noblezada singing it, and her voice breaks and she screams, and it's just her recognizing, like her saying, this, what I wanted was just to be able to lay down and sleep. Yeah. And instead I can't, like, this is, now I can't even wake up. There's nothing to wake up to. And she says, I remember fields of flowers soft beneath my heels, walking in the sun. And I remember someone walking by my side, turned his face to mine, but I turned away into the shade. And she says, if you ever come this way, come and find me lying in the bed I made. And it's just, she remembers there was an Orpheus. Yeah. But she can't remember who he was or what happened, but she knows she left him. Yeah. And it's, God, that, even just like thinking about the performance of it brings me to tears. Like, it's so...
very emotional.
Yeah, because it's like, there's nothing wrong with just wanting to eat. Yeah, or to sleep safely.
You want rest.
You want to rest. And there's like, everyone should have that. Yeah. And she left the person who was supposed to be able to help her with that. And who said he would help her with that. And...
because she couldn't trust it.
Yeah. And now she is stuck here. And she blames herself, and it's heart-wrenching. Yeah. Meanwhile, Orpheus, up above, technically a couple of songs ago, but he realizes that Eurydice left. Mostly because he, like, kind of finished his song. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Mr. Hermes, where's Eurydice? And Hermes goes, why does that matter?
Yeah.
You'll find another muse. It doesn't matter. And he's like, well, where, like, why are you mad at me? Where is she?
Yeah, just
like,
tell me.
I don't understand. I'm just excited. My song's done. I want to share it with my love. Where's Eurydice? Yeah. He's like, what? What if I said she's down below? And he's like, what does that mean? He's like 6 feet under the ground below. And he's like, oh my God, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Basically, Hermes said she called your name before she went to Hadestown, but you weren't listening. So, bud, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Orpheus is like, I'm going. Obviously, I'm going. I'm gonna go find her. You got a ticket? No. So, Hermes does know a secret way around the back.
Yep.
Because that's what he does. Or she does. And says, all right, well, you can go. But just know it's not going to be easy. And you have to stay focused because being alone in the dark, it's hard. And you have, like, it's hard on a man's mind. So you gotta go. And so he does. And we get to the song Wait For Me, which is one of the coolest songs in the show. Okay. Because this is when the most impressive stagecraft happens.
Okay.
So he goes, the lights block out the most of the set, which is still that kind of cafe set. We've been to Hadestown a little bit. Mm-hmm. In that, like, the set is still here, but, like, people have changed costumes. So we've, like, seen that it's been a scene change, but the set hasn't moved at all.
Yeah.
He comes in, the stage itself has, like, 2 spinning rings and then, like, a main turntable in the middle. Okay. So there's, like, 3 rotating parts here. He gets on one that he is, like, walking on. So he stays, like, right in front of you as it rotates underneath him.
Interesting.
And he starts singing this song, Wait For Me, where he's calling for Eurydice to wait. He's coming. And he is singing this song to help him get through. And as we know, his voice can charm the rocks and stones themselves. Mm. So as we hear this, we hear the voices of the rocks and stones, aka that Greek chorus, start to sing with him. Mm-hmm. And there's like there's a brief break. It's still dark. We hear the Fates come in because now the Fates have left Eurydice, right? She made it to Hadestown. She's where she's supposed to be for this part of the story. They don't need to deal with her right now. So instead they move to Orpheus. Mm. He is alone in the dark. And they start to ask him questions. Who are you? Yeah. Who do you think you are? Why can you walk a road that no one's ever walked before? Just give him little bits of
all
doubt.
Those negative thoughts.
Exactly. And that's it. They don't push. They don't throw him all away. Like, they just asked a few questions. And that's when he sings his song. That's when the stones come in and answer. But you get this really cool moment of the workers come in, the rocks and stones, and they bring lights with them. And it's just like a metal, like the top of a light with a bulb underneath. So it's like that flat metal light.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to describe for people who are like listening because I know I'm making gestures with my hands and then I remember y'all can't see it. But it's like those just like, you know, like big lights that hang from the ceiling kind of thing where it's like metal on the top and like a big round bit and then the light bulb hangs in the center. Mm-hmm. They come out with those. And then ropes hang descend from the ceiling. They clip those on and then they swing out over the audience.
Oh, wow.
And I was close enough that one did come directly over my head, which was very crazy. Cool. And they do like a little bit of that where it's like almost like searching lanterns in the dark of this tunnel. And then they like rove out over the audience again. And they come back. And then they'll come back and like lurk back into the dark as the lights go dim again. And then as Orpheus gets further and further and closer to Hadestown, you see and hear the set. Those like these walls off to the right and left, where the benches are, start to scoot back. And the main wall in the back that actually has the drum cage in it, and then where the balcony is up top, that also starts to scoot back. And as they scoot back, you realize there's stuff kind of in between them that you couldn't see before because the walls pressed together. And it's rusted metal, corrugated steel kind of thing all the way along the back wall. And they keep scooting back, and they keep scooting back. And as they scoot all the way back, so they're not off stage, they're still very much here. But you can see that rusted metal goes all the way up and over the top of the set. It goes so far up, like beyond what you can see above the curtains. And it is rusted metal, and there's lights in them that all come to life. And now you are in Hadestown.
That's cool.
The whole set just fucking moves back to reveal a much bigger set.
Yeah.
That was there the whole time, but just hidden.
Yeah.
And it's just wild. When we first saw it that first time, it was just like, it's so tall!
Yeah.
How'd you build that?
No one else does that.
It's so cool. During all of that, and he's singing about, wait for me, I'm coming for you. The Rocks and Stones are singing our song. And you just know he's going to find her. Like, you just know. You can feel it because he can feel it. And the Rocks and Stones are singing
They're
it too.
optimistic
Everyone
at this
is there.
point.
And it's so, you just know. You know it. And then you've got Eurydice. She sings her song Flowers. She's kind of like accepted her place. And then running up one of the aisles is Orpheus with his guitar. His lyre. It's a guitar. He's carrying a guitar. They just call it his lyre. It's so funny to me.
Because it's like, who can get their hands on an actual lyre?
Right? And he does play it. Anytime a character has to play an instrument, which is Orpheus plays his guitar the whole time, and then the Fates each have an instrument.
Cool.
One has an accordion, one has a violin or a fiddle, which I do think is the same instrument, it's just how you play it.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case.
No, that's true.
And then one of them has like a set of like bells on a string that and they trade it for a triangle sometimes.
Okay.
I believe those are the two that they use. But yeah, they all play their own instruments as well. So she's like just had this screaming emotional song.
Yeah.
And then just like lays down, and then suddenly there's a spotlight in one of the aisles, and Orpheus is right there. And he does this one line, he just says, "Come home with me." Because when they very first met, he's been like staring at her. He's holding this little paper ripped up flower that he made, just like staring at her, like trying to figure out how to approach. And Hermes goes, "You want to talk to her?" And he's, "Yes." And Hermes goes, "All right, go ahead." And it's like, "Wait, don't come on too strong."
Yeah.
And Orpheus walks right up and goes, "Come home with me." And then she goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "The man who's gonna marry you. I'm Orpheus." And it's like, that was too strong, but also it was really cute.
Yeah, very romantic.
So when he finds her here at Hadestown, he goes, "Come home with me." And she goes, "It's you. It's me. Orpheus, Eurydice." Which I only bring up that exact set of lines because that comes back into play later.
I feel like I've heard that. You probably have told me that.
Almost certainly have.
It rhymes!
And she remembers him. It starts with "It's you" because she goes, "It's, the one I remember."
That's always a good trope.
and then remembers his name, Orpheus, Eurydice. And then you have this moment of like laughs where she goes, "How'd you get here? On the train?" And he goes, "No, I walked." And when you listen to it in the soundtrack, you're like, "No, I walked a long way." And it's just like, all one continuous, and it's like, yeah, that's what he did. When they do it in the show, it's like, "No, I walked." And then there's this pause, and you're like, yeah, of course he did. What else would he have done?
Yeah.
But it's very funny. They write a lot of things like that, where it's like, I never would have laughed just listening to it on the soundtrack, but the way they say things, it's just like, that's fucking funny, dude.
Yeah.
No,
the delivery.
like, what are you talking about? Anyway, they find each other. He's like, I sang a song, the wall let me through. I can sing us home again. And she's like, funny story, you can't actually do that. I sort of can't leave. Hades shows up and he's like, aha, intruder. Aha, you can't take her home. I own her. And she signed the paperwork herself. She made that choice. Orpheus feels somewhat betrayed, but also, kind of gets it. Gets beaten up by the workers because Hades is an asshole. Persephone watches all of this happen and is truly, like, uncertain of what to do. Like, she watches it happen, she's like, I can't stop this.
Yeah.
But also, I know Orpheus. He did that wonderful toast for me, which I forgot to talk about. I'll get to that in a minute. And there's nothing she can really do, but she stays to watch after Orpheus has been beaten, possibly to offer something, possibly just to, like, because she's not sure what else to do.
Yeah.
And as Orpheus gets up, he considers just leaving. But instead, he, like, Hermes is, narrating this, and I guess they, because it's been played by both. So they kind of say, like, the boy turned to go because he thought no one could hear them, but everybody knows that walls have ears. Mm-hmm. So Orpheus just kind of goes, is it true that the girl I love, if it's true that the girl I loved is gone, that this is how the world is, then I'll just go. But who are they to say what the truth is anyway? Mm-hmm. And then as he starts to talk, the workers, who are all just, like, back at their job, start to listen and start to engage. And it starts with, like, and like, Orpheus stops actually, like, he says his bit at the beginning of, like, okay, sorry, I'm trying to find, I have some of the lyrics open, but if it's true what they say, there's nothing to be done, that it's too late, the girl I love is gone. Is this how the world is, to be beaten and betrayed, told that nothing changes, it'll always be like this. If it's true what they say, I'll be on my way. And then the workers all start kind of, they pause, they sing their line, but they keep working through it all as they start to process. If it's true what they say, what's the purpose of a man? Just to turn his eyes away and to throw up both his hands. What's the use of his backbone if he never stands upright? If he turns his back on everyone that he could have stood beside? And at this point, Orpheus jumps back in because he recognizes that, oh, what I'm saying matters here. It's not just the rocks that can hear me. It's the people who have become the machine. Like, the machine itself can hear me. If the machine can hear me, so can the people. Yeah. So he starts, like, actively engaging with, if it's true what they say, I'll be on my way. But who are they to say what the truth is anyway? The ones who tell the lies are the solemnness who swear. The ones who load the dice say the toss is fair. The one who deal the cards are the ones who take the tricks with the hands over their heart while we play the game they fix. Skipping ahead a tiny bit. I believe there is a way. I believe in us together more than anyone alone. I believe that with each other we are stronger than we know. I believe we're stronger than they know. I believe that we are many. I believe that they are few. And it isn't for the few to tell the many what is true. So I ask you, if it's true what they say, I'll be on my way. Tell me what to do. Is it true? And at this point, he has just started a riot in Hadestown.
The proletariat uprising.
He's like, I just came to get.
It's like, we outnumber them. Like,
but have you considered that Hades is the worst, and you guys, there's more of us than them.
Yep.
And we can fight our way out.
Yep.
And a reminder, Persephone has been watching all of this.
Yeah.
And there is fear in her eyes, but also she knows he's right. Mm-hmm. And she's like, we can't keep people. Like, she's been saying since the beginning, we can't do this to people.
Yeah.
This place is bad. This place is unnatural. So she goes to Hades and does not tell him about the uprising. Instead, she goes, hey, have you considered just letting the boy and the girl go?
Yeah.
Have you considered that? Because he just loves her.
Yeah.
He's only here for her. Just let them leave.
Yeah.
And it turns into this weird tango that's not quite a tango.
Of, like, they're actually talking about themselves, sort of, conversation.
Yeah, I mean, they do openly talk about themselves. And what's interesting is because but in the way they move, because first they're talking about Orpheus and Eurydice, and then it becomes about them.
Right.
And then it becomes kind of the world. But the way they move is, you know how a tango is very, like, you step in sync, you move in sync, you turn in sync. And they, like, very, like, coordinated steps on the correct beats or whatever, which I guess is how all dances work, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They are doing that, but they are fully across the room from each other.
The distance.
Yeah, they are doing a tango 12 feet from each other.
That's good.
And it's so interesting to me because they still are on the same, like, they still know each other.
Yeah.
They know each other so well. But that connection is lost.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're like, she's still trying to convince him. And then he hears the riot outside. He goes out, tries to break it up a little bit. The workers go back to work because Hades is here, the whistle has blown. But they also keep coming back. They stand up. They ask, why can't we, like, stand with our fellow man? Why are we digging our own graves for a living?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And they refuse to stay locked in the work pattern anymore. Mm-hmm. And so Hades retaliates by yelling at Orpheus. He tells him the best way to keep a woman is essentially to, excuse me, he says, fill her pockets full of stones, precious ones, diamonds, shackle her from wrist to wrist with sterling silver bracelets, basically, like, contain her and lock her up in precious, like, but with pretty things. That's how you keep a woman.
It's an abusive relationship.
It is. And, like, Persephone is there just like, I am gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And then he makes the comments like, okay, fine, since you made such a strong impression on my wife, and it's only at that point that Orpheus realizes, like, oh, Persephone's on my side, not on his. And it's great, because, like, you've got Hades standing solid on one side of the stage. You've got the workers on one of the turntables, rotating in this direction. Orpheus is on another, rotating on a different direction. And Persephone's on the third, rotating on. And so that when he hears made a strong impression on my wife.
Yeah.
Orpheus and Persephone are passing each other. Uh-huh. And he looks to her like, oh, I didn't know. And she, like, nods and takes his hand for that brief moment that they're passing each other. So it's like all these people who are allies, but they're disconnected as they're rotating.
Yeah, they have their own stuff going on.
Exactly. And Hades is just over here yelling at them all. And it's at this point that you get the final version of Orpheus' song. Mm-hmm. It's called Epic 3, because his first version that he sang is like a test run was called Epic 1. The song he sang kind of that led into chant was Epic 2, and now it's Epic 3. And it's like, while Hades is yelling at him before this song, he talks about how he's like, locked up Persephone, and then he talks about, he's like, oh, you've got your quaint little song. Well, I've made a new song. Hear that heavy metal sound, this symphony of Hadestown. You can strum your wire, or you can strum your lyre. I have strung the world in wire. I conduct the electric city, which is just such a silly little, like, verse. Yeah. But the lights flash all super bright, and he screams it at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, this is stupid, but it's so cool. Look at you go. Anyway, at that point he says, since my wife is such a fan, play me one more song before I send you to the great beyond. He gets all menacing. Basically, I'm going to kill you, but sing me a song first. And so he sings the song he's been working on. And it's about Hades. And it's about how Hades fell in love with Persephone. Mm. And it's about how you saw her alone there against the sun. And it was like she was someone you've always known. And you were just like me. And I know how it was because you were just like me, a man in love with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because through most of the show, the comparisons, the kind of parallels between Persephone and Hades and Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus lines up with Persephone. They are the dreamers, the ones who see the good in the world, the ones who would rather they want to see the good.
Yeah, they want to focus on that.
Yeah, whereas Hades and Eurydice,
more negative.
their feet on the ground. They see the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time that Hades and Orpheus have lined up. They saw her alone there against the sky. It's like they were holding the world when you held her.
Uh-huh.
It's like she was someone you've always known. Those are lines Orpheus said earlier about Eurydice. And now he's using them to talk about Hades and Persephone. He is lining himself up with Hades exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Hades compared himself to Orpheus earlier. He says, I was much like you, turned on one too many times, talking about like Eurydice walking away.
Yeah.
Persephone leaving him every summer. And it's, so while he's like singing this song, he's like, well, you loved her, you saw her alone there against the sun, you made her queen, I know how that felt, and you didn't have the words to tell her what you felt, so you opened your mouth, you started to sing. And then he sings the tune we've been recognizing through the whole show, which I won't sing because it won't come across well. I would happily do it, like if it were just not about to go into a microphone and through my mask.
Yeah.
But I please go listen to the soundtrack. No, it's so beautiful. And Persephone and Hades both recognize it immediately. And Hades kind of panics. He's like, where did you hear that? But the workers pick it up immediately. They also start singing it. The rocks and stones start singing it with him. Because it's the song that the world all once sang together for Hades and Persephone's love. They know this song. And as he goes to try to stop them, Persephone's like, no, you don't get to stop this. Let them sing it. And Orpheus doesn't blink that when he goes to start moving. He's like, we're going to keep singing this. We're going to keep singing it. And one thing that happened at the very beginning of the show, when Orpheus was first trying to convince Eurydice to marry him, was she made him sing the song he was writing, which he's like, it's not finished. It's not finished. I've barely started. And she's like, well, you want to take me home? And she does some little sultry little, like, you want to take me home? And, like, slips her jacket off her shoulder or something. He's like, uh-huh. And she goes, okay, sing the song. Mm-hmm. And he does. It's very early drafts, but there's a change to the music. You can see, like, the chorus is, like, moving tables. He stands up on, like, the tables, and he's walking across them, and as soon as he steps off one, it gets moved in front of him, so it looks like he's just kind of, like, walking across, almost hovering.
Yeah.
And as he reaches the end, a carnation appears in his hand. Instead of his little dinky paper flower or, like, a scrunched up rag like he's tried before, a carnation is in his hand. And that's what convinces Eurydice this is real. What he's doing is real, and it's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And here down in Hadestown, as Orpheus is singing this song and getting the workers to sing with him, and Persephone is here with Hades, and Orpheus reminds them of what their love used to be. Finally, he gets to this part where he says, what has become of the heart of this man now that this man is king? What has become of the heart of this man now that he has everything? The more he has, the more he holds. The greater the weight of the world on his shoulders. Basically, while the workers have all been screaming, keep your head low, Orpheus points out that Hades has done the same thing because he's afraid to look up and see that the woman he loves is gone.
Right.
And he says, she's already gone because of what you've done. So he sets it up. He says, basically implies that Hades is going to sing. Orpheus does the first round of la la las. And then Hades does the second, and it's very weak, very scratchy. But as soon as he does, he has a carnation in his hand, offering to Persephone. And I remember when I first saw that fucking brought me to tears. I was like, oh, well, of course Orpheus can do it, but Hades too can do that shit
for
too.
sure, for sure.
Oh, God. And then the next song is just, it's mostly instrumental. It's just Hades and Persephone dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just them reconnecting and finding that they do still have love for each other.
That's nice.
And it's truly beautiful. Of course, then you have to remember the actual story of Orpheus and Eurydice.
Yep, like when is that gonna happen?
At this point, Hades and Persephone are holding each other. And Eurydice says, all right, you did it. You finished your song. Let's go home. And Orpheus is like, how? And she's like, well, we'll go back the same way you came. You can sing us home. And he's like, what about Hades? And she's like, well, he can't say no. Look at him. He'll let us leave. And we'll take the other workers with us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go. And so Orpheus goes to Hades and is like, can we go?
Mm-hmm.
And Hades says, I don't know.
Yeah.
Which at this point, Persephone kind of backs away from him. Everyone stresses out. And the fates come in. Because now it is Hades' turn for the fates to affect him.
Okay.
And they said, you gotta think quick. It's you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can't just say no because it's gonna start a riot. But if you just let them go, everyone's gonna say you're a weak, spineless king. So, and then like no one will ever listen to you ever again. So here's a little tip. Give them the rope and they'll hang themselves. And then they back off, leave him to figure it out. And he approaches Hermes and he says, here's the deal. They can go, but there are conditions.
Yeah.
And so that's when the rules we all know and love come into play.
If you look back, it's over.
Yeah. Orpheus can leave and Eurydice can follow, but she has to stay behind. He cannot turn to look behind. If she does, she goes right back to Hadestown and nothing can be done about it.
She can't talk either, right?
She can, but he won't hear.
Okay.
I mean, they don't express that.
Yeah, but that's a rule. Clear. Yeah.
And she does like sing and talk in the like number that happens while they're walking, and you cannot hear her.
Yeah.
So they get kind of ready for that. Orpheus asks Hermes, "Is this a trick? Is this a trap?" And he says, "No, it's a test. It's a trial." Why does Hades build the wall? Why does he make them walk single file? It's just a test. It's divide and conquer. But if you can just keep faith in each other and in yourself, you will be fine. So Orpheus and Eurydice make another promise to each other that they'll be fine. They'll make it out. The other workers are going to follow behind Eurydice because if he can make it out, then she can. And if she can make it out, then they can. And there's this great bit that Hermes is saying to Orpheus as he gets started on his walk. You got a lonesome road to walk, and it ain't along the railroad track, and it ain't along the blacktop tar you've walked 100 times before. I'll tell you where the real road lies, behind your ears, behind your eyes. That is the path to paradise, likewise the road to ruin. And that's like truly the essence of like the issue here is
how you think about stuff, how you experience things.
Exactly. Especially with like remembering that the last time he walked this road, the fates came in and already planted those little seeds of doubt.
Yeah.
So we get to Wait For Me reprise, which is them walking back. And this is really cool. We've got those like different turntables again. Orpheus has his lantern. Everything is dark. They have fog coming in. And they do a lot of like rising and sinking of the different rows. So you've got
cool.
Orpheus. Sometimes you can see Eurydice behind him. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can see him and Eurydice and like the other workers behind him. Sometimes there's no one and it's just him alone.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes the Fates are like high above him in the middle. Sometimes they're ahead of him. Sometimes they're behind him. Sometimes they're just circling in on the next row. Like, there's like, it's kind of dizzying, like where he is in relation to anything else. There's like one time he almost trips and Eurydice has to back up to make sure he doesn't see her.
Yeah.
And he tries to sing his song that he always sings when things are uncertain, to like try and get the comfort he did when he walked this road before. And he doesn't get the echoes that he always does.
Right. He can't hear them.
He can't hear them. He can't hear her. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Persephone says to Hades, you let them go. And he said, I let them try.
Yeah.
She goes, well, how about you and I? Are we going to try again? Hades says, it's time for spring. We'll try again next fall. Which, they're going to have spring this time.
Yeah,
they're gonna get
spring.
They're going to get fall. And she says, wait for me. He says, I will.
Uh-huh.
And so she goes off for spring. And then you've got Eurydice. She gets two parts in this song that basically echo what he sang in the first version. Where, you know, I'm coming, wait for me, I hear the walls repeating, the falling of our feet. Sounds like drumming. And I want to get this exactly right, so give me half a second to pull up this. Yeah, so the first time, her like bit, she goes, Orpheus, are you listening? I'm right here, and I will be till the end. The coldest night of the coldest year comes right before the spring. And he tries to do his la-la-las, and then he starts to doubt after the fates have been going a little bit. He goes, who am I? Who am I against him? Why would he let me win? Why would he let her go? Who am I to think he wouldn't deceive me just to make me leave alone? He does some more like doubtful stuff, and then we get a little bit more, where is she? Where is she now? And then we get this, meanwhile, while this is happening, the set is moving back in. We're leaving Hadestown. We're coming back to that little cafe. We're reaching the surface. We see him kind of circle. There's a set of stairs that leads up to a door, and the light is bright right there. That's the surface. We can see it. And Eurydice can see it too. She says, Orpheus, you're not alone. I am right behind you, and I have been all along. The darkest hour of the darkest night comes right before the dawn.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't get to finish that line.
Oh, man.
The darkest hour of the darkest night comes right before, and he is at the top of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns around, and there is the gasp.
Yeah.
Every time there is the gasp through the whole theater.
Even though everyone knows it's coming.
I still do it! Because he's so close.
Yeah.
And it's so upsetting because she sees him and he sees her, and he goes, it's you. She goes, it's me. Orpheus. Eurydice. And while that exchange is going on, the trapdoor she's on, or the thing she's on, is very, very, very slowly lowering.
Rip.
And then he bolts for her to try and grab her hand one last time. And as soon as he moves, it drops.
Yeah.
And she is gone.
Yeah.
And as that happens, he is staring down into the hole where she has disappeared for almost all of the next whole song, where Hermes comes in, quiet, and starts into a reprise of the very first song, Road to Hell. It's an old song. It's an old tale from way back when. It's an old song, and that is how it ends. That's how it goes. Don't ask why, brother, don't ask how. He could have come so close. The song was written long ago. And that is how it goes. And then, in an almost word-for-word repetition, it's a sad song. It's a sad tale. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's a sad song, but we sing it anyway.
Yeah.
And it is... And it's like that whole part, Orpheus is still just there staring down after where Eurydice went.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they start into the next little bit of Hermes talking about how you still sing it again as if it might turn out this time, Orpheus gets up slowly and he leaves. And as soon as he is gone, Hermes says, see, Orpheus was a poor boy. And Eurydice comes in from the other side of the stage wearing the same coat she started in, holding a candle and asking for a match like she did when she first showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And Hermes gives her a match. The show is starting over. The cycle begins anew.
Oh, yeah.
Except as she sets her candle up and is lighting it, she pulls a carnation out of her pocket. And she looks confused, but she smiles because she knows it's something good.
Mm-hmm.
And on a sunny day, there was a railroad car and a lady stepping off a train. Everybody looked and everybody saw that spring had come again with a love song. So Persephone is here on time. Spring has come again. And Eurydice has her carnation. So... it is not a happy ending.
No.
It is a tragedy. Orpheus lost Eurydice. But it is a hopeful ending.
Yeah, like you can still do something.
Yeah. It brings back that message of he could make you see how the world could be in spite of the way that it is.
Yeah.
We still see the loss that happened. We can still see that the cycle is starting again. We're going to sing it again.
Yeah.
But we're starting from somewhere better because of the progress that was made last time.
Yeah.
The world is back in tune. And then Hades and Persephone, they haven't fixed everything.
Right.
But they're trying again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something beautiful. And then the song ends with Road to Hell, or the show ends with Road to Hell reprise. Like, that is the end of the story. But they have another song after that, because they do their bows and everything after Road to Hell reprise. That's when they end it with We're Gonna Sing It Again. They do all their bows and everything, and then they all come together at the front, and Persephone, or whoever is playing Persephone, I guess more accurately, sings a song with whoever is playing Eurydice called We Raise Our Cups.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a toast to Orpheus. And it's honestly a favorite of mine. And everyone is still standing from bows, and most people grab if they still have a drink left from concessions.
Mm-hmm.
You raise them up in your toast, and they sing a song to Orpheus. Let's see. Pour the wine and raise a cup. Drink 'em, brothers, you know how. Spill a drop for Orpheus, wherever he is now. Wherever he is wandering alone upon the earth, let our singing follow him and bring him comfort. Because in the original myth, one of them, at least, one variation, after he was unsuccessful in bringing Eurydice, he attempted to die. He tried to find a way to kill himself to join her in the underworld.
Yeah, I remember that.
And couldn't.
Yeah.
Because he was so beloved by everything in the world that everything refused to do damage to him.
Right.
So he is still wandering. So here he is. One of the verses, some birds sing when the sun shines bright. Our praise is not for them, but the ones who sing in the dead of night. We raise our cups to them. So hopefully if Orpheus never was able to re-find Eurydice, he's out there still trying to keep the world in tune, and
right.
Wherever he may be wandering, they raise a cup to him every afternoon and evening at the Walter Kerr Theater in Broadway and on tours. And I think it's just such a lovely way to and they pass out the same cups they had for Living It Up on Top. They bring out bottles, they fill each cup. And I did find out they do actually pour something in the cup for them to drink.
Okay.
It is water that they keep at just slightly below room temperature.
Okay.
Too cold will fuck with the vocal cords. They keep it just slightly below room temperature to give them something to drink.
Uh-huh.
So they do actually raise a cup. They do actually toast to Orpheus.
Okay.
And it just... I love it. And that just kind of brings me back. This will be my final point, I think. There was one more toast that they did in the show. It was in Living Up on Top, and I've mentioned it a handful of times already.
Mm-hmm.
But during the song, Hermes speaks up and said, "Let's let the poet bless this round." And so Orpheus gets to do a toast to Persephone to thank her for bringing the wine, bringing summertime.
Right.
At first, it's very like what you would expect. The patroness of all this, Persephone, finally returned to us with wine enough to share, asking nothing in return except that we should live and learn to live as brothers in this life. To trust she will provide. If no one takes too much, there will always be enough. She will always fill our cups. And we will always raise them up to the world we dream about and the one we live in now. And when they do that toast... Orpheus is like standing up on a table. He's got his cup in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And they, during the early part, it's just like, asking nothing in return, so that we should live and learn to live as brothers in this life. Everyone's like, yeah, good job, woohoo. Trust she will provide. No one takes too much. There will always be enough. She will always fill our cups. She's like very drunk. She's like, I will. We will always raise them up. And then it gets kind of quiet. And he goes, to the world we dream about. And then everyone turns to the audience. The one we live in now. And I just love that, in that we do have to always hope for a better future for what we dream about. But we also have to remember there's still good.
Yes.
Even in all the hell we live in the hard times we're in, there's always good and there's always improvement. And we should always try to sing the song again.
Yeah.
There's so much good in it. It's a fun show and it's a silly show, but it's also so heartfelt and such a good message of hope.
Yeah.
And if you just like jazz music, it's good, but also if you want to find meaning, there's so much to find.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite show I've ever seen in my entire life. So, I love it.
Very meaningful, for
this
sure.
This is my love letter to Hadestown. I don't even know how long this went, but I feel like it was a million years.
It was pretty long.
I'm so sorry. The show is really long. There's a lot to talk about.
No, it was a good explanation. I was like hooked. I was like, oh man.
If it told us again, I'll take. I know you're not as into musicals. But
that's okay.
I will take you. I want to share it with everyone. But anyway,
I'll listen to the music.
To my 8 million thoughts on Hadestown.
It's good. I was like, if I watched this, I would probably get like I'd probably cry.
I cry every time.
Yeah.
Every single time I know it's coming. I mean, everyone should know what's coming, but we still get caught up. You get caught up.
Yeah.
And you forget until it happens, and then you're like, no, go back, try again.
Yeah.
We'll try again. Oh, it's devastating. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Anyway, thank you for listening to me wander on for like 2 hours or something.
It's like an hour and a half.
Okay, not quite. Oh, because we had to pause for the cat.
Yeah, I had to feed him.
Fabulous. But anyway, yeah. Please, if you have other thoughts on Hadestown, please tell me.
Yeah.
Love to hear them all. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever, Tumblr.
Yeah.
Hit us up. Email us. All that jazz.
That would be great. But
I love to hear more thoughts.
Yeah. Give Hunter someone to talk with.
Please. I want more Hadestown friends.
But yeah, thanks for listening and see y'all next time.
Bye.